there anyone out there in the dark? Welcome to Star Wars: The Old Republic, here at New York Comic Con 2011. Thank you very, very much for coming. Is there really anyone in the back? There's a lightsaber back there. I think there is someone in the back row, so that's good. So yeah, thank you very much for coming. This is actually the first of two panels that we're doing today. My name is Stephen Reed. I'm Senior Community Manager, an unable to speak person from BioWare Austin. Despite the accent, I do live in Texas. And I'm going to be your host for this panel, as well as my esteemed colleagues here, who we'll introduce in a minute. So like I said, this is actually the first of two panels we're going to be doing today. Both of these panels brought to you, thank you very much, to MMORPG.com. If you don't get a chance to grill us enough today, this afternoon I should say, you can come back tonight at 6:30 p.m. and we'll be doing a Q&A for an hour with Garrett Fuller from MMORPG hosting, so I'm sure he's going to ask all the questions that we won't respond to, and that'll probably be worth coming to see as well. That will literally be next door, I believe, in the American Airlines Theatre 1A06. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to introduce a few people who will be talking about the game today. So let's meet the team. To my immediate left, we have James Olin, Game Director for Star Wars: The Old Republic, the man in charge of Do I look as much like a deer in the headlights as he does right now? Next to him, of course, needing no introduction, I'm sure, Daniel Erickson, Writing Director. And we lost someone who's going to be on the next slide, but I'll give you this as a preview because he's going to be there later on at 6:30. Drew Carpishin is also here at the show. Best-selling author of the Dark Fate trilogy, and of course author of the upcoming Revan, which is going to tell the story.
He's just sitting in the audience.
Don't out him. That would be very mean. We'll leave him there. He's good. Yeah, Drew will be with us on the panel at 6:30 tonight, and of course on the far left of me and right of you, Corey Butler, Wookiee in training and one of the live producers on the game. So now everybody knows everybody, let's talk about the Old Republic. So first thing I should probably ask, although it's going to be difficult because I can hardly see any of you in the dark, so you're going to have to applause, who actually knows anything about the Old Republic? So, among those of you who know things about the game, how many of you have actually played the game? Woo! How many of you are in testing right now? Woo! Okay, security, all of these guys just broke our NDA. If you could just take them out. Because they're not. Alright. So I appreciate that those of you who are in testing, you know, it's been great to have you testing the game. But some of you apparently are still in the dark, and I mean that literally, especially for the back row. So I'm going to give you a very quick background info on the game. Star Wars: The Old Republic, in case you've heard of it just for the first time today, is a massively multiplayer, story-driven MMO from BioWare and, of course, LucasArts. It is set thousands of years before the original movies. In fact, if you want to be precise about it, 653 years before the movies, and about 300 or so years after Knights of the Old Republic, which was, of course, a game also made by BioWare, and I'm pretty sure this role had a little bit to do with that one. And, of course, as I say, it's 300 years after Knights of the Old Republic, so what we did was we put together 3 cinematic trailers, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. In return, you saw the beginning of our story, the retaking of Korriban, the ancient homeworld of the Sith Empire. Then in hope, we see Republic heroes turn the tide of battle on Alderaan as the galactic struggle intensifies. We saw the climax of the Sith Empire's plan, their attack on Coruscant and the Jedi Temple, forcing a treaty and beginning a Cold War across the galaxy. Of course, the story doesn't end there, though. It continues straight into the game itself. And as part of either the Galactic Republic or the Sith Empire, you're going to be playing one of 8 character classes that are based on iconic Star Wars heroes and villains, you can see here. Now, each one of our classes has a unique story spanning several hundred hours of gameplay. What this means, if you play the entire game as a Jedi and then you start over again, say, as a bounty hunter, you will not see a single duplicate mission in the gameplay experience. As well as this storyline, which is specific to your class, there is an overarching story that plays out through the entire game, which you'll experience with thousands of other players at the same time. We really believe it's going to change your definition of what an MMO can be. We've put a lot of time and effort into adding story to the MMO experience to make it richer, deeper, and more engaging than ever before. Now, while story is extremely important to us, we're making an MMO, not a movie, so the Old Republic has also got all the features you'd expect from a modern MMO, such as high-level endgame content, player versus player combat, and social features. Now, we're going to talk about a few of those things today. However, we're also going to talk about the bigger picture, and we're going to do that through the use of numbers. You didn't know there was going to be a math lesson in there as well. So let's start with a very, very small number, number 1. It's a small number, but it is very, very important to us. The reason I talk about number 1 is because we're only making one game. I hate to disappoint you, we don't have another one secretly squirreled away in the back of the studio. We're working on one game and one game alone, but the good news about that is it means that we are 100% committed to the Old Republic. The entire studio, and it is an army of people, probably just about. They're 100% committed to the Old Republic, and that's all we're working on. So we really are trying to build the best MMO that we possibly can. But we want to jump to really big numbers, so I'm actually going to hand things over to Corey Butler for a moment, who is from our live services team. Corey?
Thanks, Stephen. So myself and the rest of the live services team, we all work out of the studio there in Austin, Texas. And the live services team as a whole, we're dedicated with laser-like focus to one thing, and that's keeping the live service of Star Wars: The Old Republic up and running. As we're a couple of months away from launch, you may think that we're just sitting at our desk, playing with our action figures, waiting for the launch day to come. But in reality, there are thousands upon thousands of people playing the game right now as I speak. They're playing it on servers based across the U.S. and Europe. And we're supporting those servers and those players 24/7 at this point. Now, Stephen also asked me to give you guys a big number. So I went ahead and do one of the larger ones I can find.
This one's a big one.
And here it is, 4.8 million. So since last March, this is actually the number of hours our testers have spent in the game. 4.8 million hours.
Thank you very much for all that testing.
I personally logged about 500,000.
Understandable. And then right around the corner from Corey's team is my team. Literally right around the corner in the office. The community team, you might think that all we do is sit around all day and read the forums. Sadly, that's not true. What we do, and I mean, it would be hard to do that considering, and here's another big number, we get about 200,000 forum posts a week right now. On an average week. On a good week, like on our pre-order week, we've got about 350,000. So it does take a while to read through all those posts. So that's not what we do all day. What we really do, the most important thing we can do, is basically sit between the players and the developers. So this is why, if needs be, I will actually physically leap in front of these guys to prevent them from getting attacked or touched. And what we do is we talk to you guys, the players, and then we bring that feedback back to the devs, and then we also act as the voice of the developers back to you. Except in the case of Gail October, who hosts every day, all the time. So he does that by himself. But we give the developers a voice. They need to spend time developing the game and making it as best as they possibly can. And we try and explain the decisions as best as we can. So that's our primary focus. And of course, something else we do is we go to shows, which is why we're here at New York Comic Con. So, after we had a quick glimpse there at the service part of the game, we want to go back to numbers. And let's start with this number, number 15. And this number is going to be explained by Mr. Daniel Erickson. So is this the number of writers you have on your team right now, Daniel?
No, not quite. We have actually had more writers than that at various points. Eventually, it turns out that Mass Effect and Dragon Age want their people back. So we're a little under that right now. No, what this is right now is this is the number of flashpoints that are going to ship at launch. So for those of you who aren't familiar, flashpoints are our group-based, beautifully put together, incredibly tightly scripted content. Sort of what you'd think of in another MMO as a dungeon. They're your epic adventures. You can bring your friends. We did great iconic Star Wars pieces there. You can bring your companions if you're super brave and you want to try to do it that way before. We talked about some of the early ones. Some of the flashpoints we had tried to keep under wraps, mainly because of story concerns, spoiler concerns. But testing started. People started playing flashpoints. We talked about Sterile 5 flashpoints. We talked about the transition flashpoints. A few more we kept back. We kept getting the same thing from testing. We want more. And some of the objections were really good ones. Basically, the way the game functions is we give you experience points for anything you try to do. And so people kept saying, okay, I can do just my class content and then just do PvP and level all the way up if I want to. I can just do the space game in my class content and level all the way up if I want to. Why can't I do flashpoints? Why can't I do that all the way through? So right now what we're telling you is there will always be a flashpoint of the appropriate level for you to go and do all the way through the leveling experience. Not only that, one of the things that we've done is we've made sure that all of the flashpoints, they're also, lest I forget, there are several flashpoints that are just endgame flashpoints. They are also going to get saved. And then all of the flashpoints that you can do during the leveling experience also have a hard mode, which will open up at the end. So you can also do all of those as Elder Game content. And what we've done with the new flashpoints, again based on feedback from the testers, is some of the flashpoints are more narrative heavy, some of them are more action puzzler heavy. That way for people who really like to replay pieces that are more of the straight action pieces, they've got those, and then you've got the entire set of them at level 50, and you can choose your favorite ones to run again and again. I'm so off Steven's script here that I've gotten lost.
You're vaguely there. You're in the same ballpark. That's good.
All right. So yeah, we're going to be revealing more details on all the flashpoints as we get up closer to launch.
Okay, so, and the question is, what do you do after flashpoints? Well, Daniel said that at level 50 you still get the chance to go back and go through those again in hard modes, but you've probably heard that we also have something that we call operations. So, well, we have a fan!
We got one operation fan out there.
All that work was worth it. So yeah, operations, and we certainly talked a lot about the first operation we revealed over the summer, which was Eternity Vault, and I personally got extremely acquainted with the first 20 minutes of that operation as I did demos of it 3 million times in a row. You may have seen footage from the Eternity Vault at Gamescom this summer, but this is not the last operation in the game, and we do have another one. But it's so secret that all we can do is give you a screenshot. Daniel?
Yes, sir.
Did you want to say anything about this unnamed operation?
Yeah. So there are huts, and the huts are sort of the third major power in the galaxy. For those of you who've been paying attention to the game, they are the neutral faction that can stay neutral because they could tip the balance either way. So as the game gets near the end and both sides are really taking big chunks out of them, it makes sense that the most opportunistic group in the galaxy are going to make their move.
That's what we're going to say?
That's all we're going to say.
All right. I think I can see a gamma marine in the background there. Anyway, that screenshot will be on the website later today, so you can author it as much as you like. And we will have more information about unnamed Operation Number 2, obviously before we launch the game. Apart from operations and flashpoints, there's something else that a lot of people like to do in the game, which is PvP. And that leads us to another number 3. And James is going to tell us what that 3 represents.
Well, I think that represents the number of war zones in the game. Though there is the open world war zone, which I don't think I'm allowed to talk about. So we'll stick to the 3 war zones that I'm allowed to talk about.
Well, officially, open world PvP is not a war zone. So
don't confuse people. It's not a war zone. There's only 3 war zones.
Only 3 war zones. We've already announced 2 of the war zones. We have the Ultron War Zone and we have Hutball. So in the Ultron War Zone, you have the Republic and the Empire obviously fighting an Ultron for control of a super laser that could turn the tide of the war. Hutball is really cool. It takes place on Nar Shaddaa, the moon of Hutta, controlled by the Hutts. And the Hutts there have the Republic and Empire playing a game against each other for glory and credits. And actually the cool thing about that war zone is you can actually play against people of your own faction. So the third war zone, we did talk about it back in April. It's called the Void Star, but we were making some changes to it due to feedback, so we decided to go dark on it for many, many months. But now we're going to give you a little glimpse of the Void Star, and I'm going to talk about some of the game mechanics that go along with it. Actually, first, we're going to have Satil Sean talk about
Introduce the Void Star to you.
This is Grandmaster Satil Shan. We have discovered what appears to be the legendary prototype Imperial ship from the last war. If it really is the Void Star, this is technology we must recover. The Empire's already here. Make your way to the data core on the bridge and claim the technology. First, you'll need to override the nearby security terminal to open that door.
So this sets up a classic scenario that you're probably all very familiar with. We were inspired by Episode 4, the boarding action that starts off the entire Star Wars franchise. And so that's what this war zone is about. Basically, you have the Republic and the Empire boarding a capital ship and trying to get an objective, a computer core with very valuable information. So in the war zone, each side gets to play the role of the attacker. And the attacker basically has to move from zone to zone on the capital ship and set up explosives at key points and blow their way through all the heavy weapons. So there's
You're getting a little eager there, sorry about that.
I can talk now? All right. So there's 4 separate locations on the ship, and you have to get through each one of them. Now, even if you don't successfully get all the way to the core on the ship, the match will actually end and then restart with the opposite side now having to do the same thing, having to fight all the way through the ship while the opposite team tries to stop them. It really gives you that feel that you saw from Episode 4, A New Hope. So it's really doing well in testing. People are really excited by it. I think mainly because it evokes Star Wars in a way that people are really excited about.
Let's have a look at another couple of moments from the Void Star.
So what you saw there was one of the teams that had explosives, and the other team trying to deactivate the explosive.
Nice try. Probably team. All right. Thank you very much, James, for those details about the Void Star. And we're going to ask James for a bit more information because, of course, when you're not jumping into war zones or flashpoints or operations, you might be looking for some downtime. Massively multiplayer games, as we all know, are all about how many times you can type /dance into the chat window on an AE, etc. So we thought it was important to put some really cool social hubs into the game, and that's what we did. So James is going to talk a little bit about those.
So we wanted to have social areas in the game where players could easily meet up with other players. Now, obviously, you can do that anywhere else in the game, but we wanted to have 2 specific areas, one per faction, where that was very much encouraged. And we wanted to really fit the Star Wars flavor, so we felt that the best kind of location for that would be the fleets of each respective side, the Republic fleet and the Imperial fleet. So each side has their own core fleet, and you can travel there on your starship. And when you get there, the fleets have access to a whole bunch of different activities. It's actually the main launch point for the flashpoints and the operations that Daniel was talking about earlier on. That's actually where you can meet up with a whole bunch of players, form into groups of 4, 8, 16 players, and play some of the multiplayer content. It also has access to the Galactic Trade Network, so that's where you can trade items with other players. Finally, it has some of the best vendors in the game, so you can go there to spend all your credits. It's basically a place where you can go and find hundreds of other players at the same time, join up, and do some of the group content in the game.
Let's have a quick tour. This is the Republic fleet that you're seeing.
One of the advantages of buying the collector's edition is it actually, well, it gives you many, many different advantages, but one of them is the access to a VIP area on the fleets. So that's an area where basically you and your fellow collector's edition players can go and interact. It's not really, it doesn't really give you any advantage in the game other than you get to feel a little bit special whenever you visit the fleet.
There's something extremely embarrassing when you first run into the elevator and the bouncer kicks you off it and points you away and tells you you have to have a VIP badge to get here.
Very exclusive. Okay, thank you very much, James and Daniel and Corey. We do have some time for some Q&A, and I think we have a mic somewhere in the dark right there. If I'm not mistaken, do we have some hats? Yeah. We have hats. So if you could line up behind that mic, that would be great.
Hey, Drew, don't you want to come up, answer some questions?
No, he is. He looks moving. Come on, Drew.
All right.
For perfection, everybody. If for some reason you don't know, the original lead writer of the original Knights of the Old Republic, and now here with us.
Okay. With the X-Wing jacket. What's your question?
Hello. First of all, thank you for making this game. And I have a couple questions. When you mentioned that you weren't working on any other games right now, does that include future expansions?
No, that does not include future expansions. But we can't really talk about
No, let's say detail.
And also,
writing is done with this game, and I still have a job.
And also, for dungeon or raid bosses, besides giant droids and rancors or whatever animals, do you have what are they?
Well, one of the thing about
giant droids and rancors.
well, when you look at Star Wars, you look at the main villains of Star Wars. A lot of them revolve around people who can use the Force. So yes, we do have things other than big monsters and big droids. In fact, how much have we revealed about the main villain of the first operation?
Not that much.
I think we're trying to keep the end bosses pretty much under wraps for everything.
Let's just spoil that the end boss can use the Force.
And one of the things, I get what you're saying, which is that so often it's the giant things, but there's a lot of different ways to do it. And Gabe's team has gotten really creative. You can do normal-sized guys with puzzle fights, with wave fights, with commander fights, all sorts of cool stuff, all of which has gone into the game. The amount of complexity and interesting things happening in boss fights, not just in operations, but in flashpoints as well, has shot through the roof in the last few months.
And both sides can fight the same villain, or Republic can only fight one person and...
That depends. We have some flashpoints that are specific to Republic, and some that are specific to Empire, and some that can be shared.
And how many races are there?
Is this a follow-on question? It sounds like a follow-on question to me.
I have a lot of questions.
There's a big old line.
There we go. Let's move it.
I'll make this quick. I have one question. I wanted to know what you can tell me about a smartphone app or an application that would be integrated into the game that we can see after launch. I mean, there's a lot of talk about it, but nothing specific.
We love smartphones. Next question.
Hi, folks. Hi, James. I have some questions for you. My name is Ed. I'm the host with Gamebreaker TV. So I have two questions about the World PvP that you said that you're not allowed to talk about. On a given server, if there's a faction or population imbalance between Republic and Empire, how do you guys plan to handle that? And two, how much can we expect the World PvP to scale in terms of number of players within a close proximity?
I don't think we can answer either of those questions right now.
We are still in testing.
Sorry. Next question.
Let's just go through the whole lineup. This will be fast. There you go. Next.
Is there some sort of dungeon finder in the game that makes it a little bit more easier for people instead of maybe talking in a general chat or whatever you guys have planned?
We looked at functionality like that for the game, but I think a dungeon finder type functionality is better for a game that's been around for a while. In some ways, it makes exploring the world. It kind of takes away from the exploration of the world because you can just jump to areas right away. So we decided to not put that in for the initial release. It's something that.
Yeah, there are very few places that we go that we put something above convenience and making it work well, but community is always that one.
Thank you. Can I also get a beta invite? I really appreciate that.
It's in your hat. It's not really. Don't mob that poor guy.
Hey guys, I was wondering for the current testers right now that are in beta, is there a date that maybe the NDA will be lifted where we're able to talk about the game?
There is a date.
Are we allowed?
It's all about how you phrase the question, you see.
How's it going, guys? I'm Nick from the previous Republic Guild, Prime Defense, just thought I'd put it out there. My question was, I wanted to, one of the things I like is that you guys take into consideration a lot of feedback that you get from your testers. So a lot of things you change, like the vehicles and the look of the vehicles and the UI. There's a lot of feedback on that. One of the things I wanted to know is there anything that was previously announced that will not be ready for launch because you had to revamp it? I heard something maybe about guild banks not being ready on launch. Is that true?
Well, guild banks were never actually announced, so that would not come into that category.
So was there anything that was?
There's probably a couple of minor things, but I can't think of anything really major.
Yeah, we're very careful about announcing things that we haven't already implemented or tested in the game.
Which makes people mad a lot of the time, but it saves us from that situation right there.
Sure.
However, what we found is that people will, especially on our message boards, will sometimes announce features that we haven't even talked about, and it will kind of go viral, and suddenly it will seem that we have that feature in the game. So
or somebody will announce that we're going to have 5,000 planets over the next decade, or
I said 20 times.
That was Dallas, I think. He was joking. But
No, that was Dave.
Oh, okay. This is why I have a blowgun secreted underneath this.
That's what you guys wanted to.
Hi. I have a question regarding battle ranks. Would they be able to grant points to purchase abilities like Darkening Countline or Warhammer?
I heard the word ranks. Can you step?
Was that Valor ranks you were talking about?
Yeah, the question was, will Valor ranks give you the ability to purchase abilities?
No, not right now anyways.
But after that, then on the Wall Crazy.
Oh, the famous Wall of Crazy.
We're not allowed to
I can't talk about the Wall of Crazy. Otherwise,
James doesn't let us.
Thank you.
It's the wall of sanity.
Hi guys, Damian Morris. I had a question. A lot of us are fans of this game because of the original KOTOR game. One of the great features of that was the light side, dark side points that you would accumulate throughout the game. We've heard rumor, if not confirmed, about possibly gear that's different based on your light side, dark side points. Is there anything similar to the feature in KOTOR where you may get a certain type of ability or boost in certain kind of abilities based on your light side, dark side points, or possibly at end game obtain a ability that someone else might not be able to based on your light side, dark side points?
Well, light side, dark side is obviously core to Star Wars. It was one of the cores to Knights of the Old Republic, and it is pretty important to the Old Republic as well. We have several features that we put in the game that are applicable to the light side, dark side system, including something that I'm sure you're all familiar with. If you go down the dark path, your character will become corrupted, and that will actually change the look of your character.
Did we get that in?
Yeah, that's actually in now. Ooh, look at you.
James is going to let one slip at any Q&A. So.
But we're also giving out light side and dark side themed items. Some of those items are more just for look. So that, if you want to look like Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi with your black Jedi uniform, you're going to have to go down the dark path in order to get there. During design discussions, we've discussed a whole bunch of different ways that the light side, dark side system could impact your character. Right now, we're staying away from abilities due to a variety of reasons I won't go into now. But post-launch, we're always going to be. It is a core to Star Wars, so it's something that we're probably going to expand on.
The primary philosophical one to always remember in there is we don't want to do anything that's going to gimp you at level 50, right? We don't want to ever have a moment where somebody says, oh, you shouldn't have gone light side. So we've got to be very, very careful with what it does. Leveling game is one thing, end game is something else.
To that same point, is it possible at end game to now reverse your polarity, so to speak, by grinding?
There's actually quite a few ways. Diplomacy missions, running dailies, other stuff. Yeah, if you need to repent, there's ways to do it.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, guys. I may possibly have a couple of other things I want to show you, so we are going to have to cut this short. Probably 2 more questions. We do have an hour-long presentation, all Q&A later on tonight, so let's make it quick.
Thank you, guys, for making the game. I was wondering if you guys are going to have Kazakh or any other mini games in the game.
Well, we are big fans of Kazakh, but for launch, we're not going to have it in the game. However, I can say that, yes, we love that game, and if we could get it in a later date, you never know.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys showed a bunch of numbers up there, but there was one big number that was absent. Well, I need a new computer to play this game.
I don't have any computers.
No, I know the beta is massive, but do you have a ballpark estimate for what the final product might be?
We have minimum specs are on the site already. If you look on the pre-order page, right down the bottom, there's minimum and recommended specs in there.
But I mean, massive. What is the best we can run?
I'm sorry, say again? The best?
What's the best specs?
Okay. New question.
Sure.
Read it.
Quick.
I think what he was trying to say is what's the minimum specs you need to run the game on topped out specs.
Right.
Not what's the minimum to run, but what's the minimum you need to run it the best it can be run.
Corey,
that's what he was trying to ask.
The recommended specs, I believe, also on there. Yeah, the recommended specs are on there.
Recommended specs will get you topped out on all the graphic categories.
Yeah, should be.
My question is I was very surprised when I heard how many of the classes were going to be able to heal, how many of the classes were going to be able to tank, like the Inquisitor tanking surprised me.
Best thing ever.
Well, here's the thing: is there's many experienced MMO players here, and it'll take a while. And if you already know what kind of role you want to play with your guild, because your guild's coming from another game, and you want to satisfy that role, can you in the forums release some information? Hey, yes, this is a tank, that's a tank. But if you want an off tank that's going to grab every ad on the planet and hold aggro, no matter what kind of AoE they do, this is the kind of thing you want to go. But if you want to be a tank that gets in the boss's face and takes the biggest hit all the time,
they did that in the
single-point
Eternity
tank, a
video.
multi-tank, a single-point healer, a raid healer, can you define the roles a little more?
Ask nicely on the forums.
Actually, one of the some of the feedback we've been getting is that the way that we've divided, because we're giving players a lot more options when it comes to healing and tanks and DPS, it can be a little bit confusing. So we're going back and doing a pass on explaining the roles a lot better in the interface, so that it's much easier when you're making choices about your advanced class and when you're going to put points into your abilities, what you should be doing if you want to be a tank or if you want to be a healer. We're also trying to, it may or may not get in for shift, put in features that will allow you to easily see what people online, what is their specialty, so that when you're invited into your group, you know what they'll be able to provide.
And what we're trying to do is really give all of those roles to each piece. I talked about loving my Inquisitor tank, and it's just that I actually was really into, I really wanted to play an Inquisitor at that point. What we wanted to make sure is, so you've got a gameplay role set up by your guild. If you've decided you're a tank, guess what? You can still choose from 6 stories you can play. And all of those stories will give you the ability to go tank and to build the kind of tank that you want.
All right, that's awesome. Thanks for making the game.
The last one.
First of all, the game is amazing. And my question is, regarding Bounty Hunter, I heard that Bounty Hunter missions, player versus player, is that something that's going to be introduced at launch or later on in the game? Or are you guys not looking to do that with Bounty Hunter?
That overwhelming vote of support you got.
So are you talking about bounties?
Bounty
Hunters versus player contact.
Not in for shift, for sure.
Are you planning to put that in later in the game?
There's lots of things we're planning, but I can't go.
One more question real quick. Regarding the lightsabers for each class, I know they're very specific right now. You guys plan on changing that later on? Because there were some complaints about that.
You mean like double-bladed lightsabers?
Double-bladed for just Sith assassin and so forth.
Oh, you mean where we restrict a weapon type to each of the classes, advanced classes?
Yeah.
No, we really feel that that's basically the definition of what that class is the weapon he uses, so we won't be changing that. That's kind of the core to how we define the classes. And going back to your player versus player bounty, just so you know, it has been discussed multiple times in design meetings, so we know that it's something that excites players. So
it's also something extremely dangerous to introduce into your ecosystem.
It is very...
we've got to be very careful.
But
that guy wants it.
All right, so like I said, we do have a couple more things we want to share with you. Thank you for your question.
Wait, you made me get out of my chair, and I didn't even answer any questions? Okay, let me just say then, everybody buy the Revan novel coming out on November 15th.
I will double plug that one for being since I get this question all the time. So the Revan novel is not just the transition for, hey, what happened to Revan between KOTOR and Knights of the Old Republic, but I've actually kept all the Emperor stuff literally so secret that it's only in my computer, and I send it to people who are working on it, and the first person to ever get to explore it and to show who the Emperor is, how the Emperor came to power, what that entire thing is, and how it deals with Revan is the book that Drew wrote. So...
Please come back with some questions for Drew later on. Otherwise I'll feel really bad. So, strangely enough, no one asked any questions about release date. I mean, that was... I've gotten so used to asking these questions. Does anyone know the release date? Oh, wow. So you may have heard that we did announce the release date a few weeks ago in London. I lived in London for 10 years, and in case you haven't guessed, I am English. What? But I'll be honest, the truth was there was at one point we were going to announce it here today at NYCC. And it didn't happen. And I love my English countrymen, but let's be honest, we're not really known for wild applause and enthusiasm and excitement. So when we did announce the release date, the reaction was pretty much, as I was in the room, was kind of like a polite golf clap, Jolly good show. Well done. Thank you. So what we did was we went away and we did a new game trailer for you guys. Because at the end of this game trailer, I want you to pretend that you've never heard the release date. Then give me that reaction. Alright? And we're going to videotape it so we can play it to people in the office and they'll be very happy because they were sad when they got, oh, very good. Alright? Here we go.
new world, signs of war. Rebellion on Balmora. Corruption in the heart of Coruscant. Secret battles on Nar Shaddaa. Even Alderaan, consumed by chaos. The Republic's defenders still have hope. But the wrath of the Empire knows no bounds. The galaxy's future will soon be decided.
And no, he still won't let us talk about Ilum.
Might have been an Ilum at the end there. But there was a couple of people that we met at the meet and greet the other night. I don't know if they're here today. Is there anyone? There was a guy from Scotland. I think his name was Grant. And there was a couple from Spain. Did they make it in? Did they make it in? Because I have a little extra thing for them as well. And I don't mean the thing you're thinking of. So you guys probably realize that the release date is, of course, December 20th, 2011 here in North America. But we decided that we didn't want the Europeans to wait an extra 2 days. So now, our global release date is December 20th. In London, they probably would have got more excited. Thank you very, very much for coming. That's all we have time for. Like I said, 6:30 p.m., American Airlines Theatre. We'll talk for the whole entire hour. Thanks, guys.